Las Vegas never turns off its lights. The Strip glows 24 hours a day, casting a shimmer across the desert that can be seen from 30 miles out. Casinos hum. Hotels sell rooms for $1,000 a night. Fountains shoot water 200 feet into the air just because they can. But underneath all of it, beneath the marble lobbies and the neon signs and the roar of slot machines, there is another Las Vegas that almost nobody talks about. A city beneath the city. Running under the streets of Las Vegas is over 200 miles of flood drainage tunnels. Built to push rainwater out of the valley during desert storms, these tunnels stretch from the suburbs to the outskirts, branching and narrowing in the dark. For years, they were just concrete and shadow. Then, people started moving in. Step down through a drainage opening on the east side of the Strip and the noise disappears almost instantly. The casino sounds, the traffic, the music. All of it drops away. What replaces it is something harder to describe. A low, damp silence broken only by the echo of water dripping somewhere deeper in the dark. And then, further in, something unexpected. Furniture. A couch pushed against the tunnel wall. A bookshelf built from milk crates. Photographs taped carefully above a makeshift bed. Extension cords running from somewhere outside. Battery-powered lamps casting small circles of yellow light against concrete walls covered in artwork, in notes and calendars. People have not just survived down here. Some have tried to live. Estimates have placed the tunnel population anywhere between 500 and 1,000 people on any given night, though the real number is impossible to confirm. They are spread across hundreds of separate passages, some barely tall enough to crouch in, others wide enough to ride a bicycle through. Some sections flood without warning when desert rains hit the valley. People lose everything in minutes. Most stay anyway. Nobody plans to move into a flood tunnel. The path that leads here is almost always the same kind of path, a series of ordinary losses that compound quietly until suddenly there is nowhere else to go. A job that disappeared during an economic downturn. A medical bill that wiped out savings built over years. A divorce that split a household income that was already thin. An addiction that started with a prescription after an injury. The kind of injury people get every day. Las Vegas looks like wealth from the outside. It is built to look that way. But behind the resorts and the entertainment economy, the city has one of the highest eviction rates in the country. Rents climbed sharply through the early 2020s, and shelter capacity never kept pace with the need. When someone gets pushed out, the options narrow fast. The tunnels became known through word of mouth. Someone told someone. A person sleeping in a doorway on Fremont Street heard about a dry space underground where security couldn't reach them. That was enough. Some of the people living in the tunnels have been there for years. Not days, not weeks. Years. Long enough to know which passages flood first. Long enough to have regulars they check on. Long enough to have developed something that, in different circumstances, might be called a neighborhood. Outreach workers who enter the tunnels regularly describe what they find with a mix of sorrow and respect. Some spaces are remarkably organized. A corner designated for cooking, a separate area for sleeping, a plastic bin of clothes sorted by size so whoever needs something can find it. People who have been underground long enough begin looking out for those who arrive with nothing. A woman in her 60s keeps a small Bible and a photograph of her daughter beside her cot. She has been underground for over 2 years. She used to work in hotel housekeeping for most of her adult life, the same industry that built the skyline above her head. A medical emergency wiped out her savings. Her apartment went next. She says the tunnels are safer than some shelters she has tried. At least down here, she knows her neighbors. A man who goes by a name nobody questions keeps a battery lantern on through the night, Because the dark, he says, is the part that gets to people the most. He has mapped sections of the tunnel system by memory. When the weather reports start talking about rain, he moves through the passages warning others. These acts of care don't solve anything. They don't replace housing or treatment or a safety net with real support in it. But they are happening consistently in the dark without any audience or applause. Las Vegas sits in a desert basin. Rain here doesn't fall gently. When storms move through the Mojave, water can rush into the valley in walls, filling drainage channels faster than people can react. In 2018, a severe flash flood tore through sections of the tunnel system. People lost everything: mattresses, clothing, documents, medications, belongings they had spent months collecting. Some barely escaped. The tunnels that protect the streets above become deadly traps when water starts moving. Outreach teams have documented the cycle repeatedly. A flood pushes people out. Some accept temporary shelter. But the shelter system in Las Vegas has beds for a fraction of the people who need them. When capacity runs out, people return underground. They rebuild. They start again. The city sweeps encampments on the surface with increasing frequency, which pushes more people into the tunnels. A surface without tolerated spaces empties into passages that flood without warning. The math never works in favor of the people caught inside it. There are people who go into the tunnels voluntarily, not to sleep, but to help. Organizations like Shine a Light have been sending volunteers underground for years. They bring water, food, socks, and Narcan. They bring flashlights and conversation. They bring information about services, about shelter openings, about where someone can get an ID replaced without a permanent address. The work is slow. Trust in this population doesn't come easily, and it shouldn't. Many of the people living underground have had repeated encounters with systems that failed them, shelters where their belongings were stolen, treatment programs that had no beds, services that required documentation they couldn't produce. Outreach workers say the most important thing they carry isn't supplies, it's consistency. Showing up again, knowing someone's name the second time, asking how the knee is doing, whether the cough got better, whether the letter they were waiting on ever came. That kind of sustained, human attention is sometimes the difference between someone accepting help and someone disappearing deeper into the tunnels where no one can follow. Las Vegas is a city that knows how to solve hard engineering problems. It built a resort economy in the middle of a desert. It piped in water from hundreds of miles away. It convinced the world that spending a week on a strip of lights in the Mojave was a reasonable thing to do. It has not solved this. The tunnel population is not new. It has been documented, reported on, swept, and documented again for decades. The people living underground are not invisible. They are simply inconvenient to the image Las Vegas sells. So the tunnels continue, and the people in them continue. And every season, when the storms come back, the same cycle repeats. What would it take to actually change something here? Not a sweep. Not a temporary shelter opened for a week and then closed. What would it take to replace the choice between a flooding tunnel and nothing with something worth choice? Nobody in power has given a clean answer to that yet. Come back down through the opening on the east side late at night, past the first bend where the sound of the city cuts out, past the section where someone has painted a mural of a desert sunrise in full color across 30 feet of concrete wall, past the cot with the folded blanket at the corner where the passage widens, past the lantern still burning. Whatever word you would reach for to describe this, tragedy, resilience, failure, endurance, none of them quite hold all of it at once. These are people who slept in homes once, who had keys and alarms set for morning, and someone who knew when they were running late. Life moved underneath them the way it moves underneath everyone, quietly, and then all at once, until the distance between where they were and where they are now felt impossible to cross. And still, the lantern burns. Las Vegas above keeps glowing. Las Vegas below keeps surviving. Both cities exist at the same time, separated only by a few feet of concrete and everything the world has failed to fix. These are the stories that don't make the main stage. These are the people the city was not built to celebrate. They are still here.